The vast emptiness of space stretched before Commander Dax's viewport as his scout ship drifted silently at the edge of an unremarkable solar system. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of boredom among the Vaughn. This mission was like countless others. Find resources, mark for conquest, move on. The Vaughn Confederation had expanded this way for 300 years without serious challenge. "Commander, I've completed the scan of the 3rd planet," said Science Officer Ellis, her gray skin flushing blue with excitement. "It's unusual." Dax turned one eye stalk toward her, the other 3 remaining fixed on different monitors. "Unusual how? Is it not habitable?" "No, it's habitable. Rich in resources, actually. But the dominant species, they call themselves humans, they show odd patterns." Ellis tapped her 6-fingered hand on her console, bringing up images of Earth cities, military bases, and historical data intercepted from human broadcasts. "They're obviously primitive," Dax said dismissively. "I see no unified planetary defense system. Their space capabilities are minimal, and they still burn fossil fuels." Ellis shook her head. "That's true, but look at their development curve." She displayed a chart showing human technological advancement. They've progressed from basic flight to space travel in less than a century. And their warfare history? She paused. "They fight constantly among themselves, Commander. They've developed weapons specifically to kill their own kind with remarkable efficiency." Dax finally turned all his eye stalks toward the data. "Interesting, but irrelevant. The Confederation has conquered 32 species, many with martial histories. Humans will be no different." "There's something else," Ellis insisted. "Their captured communications show they've detected our presence despite our cloaking technology. They're already preparing." Dax clicked his mandibles in amusement. "Let them prepare. It will make no difference." 3 weeks later, in a sleek meeting hall aboard the Vaughn command ship now in Earth orbit, Ambassador Tom Reed stood alone before the Vaughn Council. 7 tall, multi-eyed aliens regarded him with what he assumed was contempt, though human eyes struggled to read Vaughn expressions. "We appreciate your willingness to meet with us," Reed said, his voice calm despite the armed guards flanking him. His suit was simple but formal. Earth's governments had agreed that humanity should present itself with dignity. "I come with a message from the United Governments of Earth." High Commander Wren, the largest of the Vaughn, leaned forward. His translator converted his clicking speech to English. "We know why you're here, human. To beg for mercy, to offer surrender terms. The Confederation accepts your submission." Reed shook his head. "I'm not here to surrender. I'm here to extend friendship, or failing that, to give you a warning." Ripple of clicking, laughter, Reed guessed, spread through the council. "A warning?" Wren's translator couldn't hide the mockery in his tone. "Your species hasn't mastered basic fusion power. Your weapons are crude. Your ships can barely reach your own moon." "Technology isn't everything," Reed replied. "Humans have something that perhaps you don't understand." Vice Commander Cal, smaller than Wren but with more alert eye stalks, shifted forward. "And what might that be, Ambassador?" "Determination," Reed said simply. "Humans don't accept conquest. We've studied your communications. We know you've subjugated other worlds. We know your patterns. But humans are different." He stepped closer to the council table, causing the guards to tense. "We seek friendship, but if threatened, humanity will defend itself without mercy. There won't be quick surrender. There won't be acceptance. If you attack Earth, humans will fight until either you or we are completely destroyed." High Commander Wren rose to his full height, nearly 9 feet tall. "Bold words from a primitive species. Your bravery is noted, but misplaced." Reed met his gaze steadily. "This isn't bravery. It's a simple fact. Humanity has spent its entire history fighting itself. Our technology may be behind yours, but our capacity for warfare is unmatched. We've perfected killing for thousands of years." Vice Commander Cal's eye stalk swiveled toward a datapad. "Our intelligence suggests humans are divided. You have nations, factions, different loyalties. True, Reed nodded. But there's one thing that always unites humans: a common enemy. If you attack, those divisions vanish. Wren clicked to his fellow council members, not bothering with translation. Reed waited patiently until the alien turned back to him. Your warning is noted, Ambassador. You may return to your planet while the council deliberates. Reed nodded. Consider carefully. You won't get a second chance. After Reed's departure, the Vaughn council chamber filled with clicking debate. Ridiculous posturing, Wren dismissed. Every species threatens when first contacted. All eventually kneel. Vice Commander Cal activated a holographic display. The human wasn't entirely wrong about their history. Look at these war statistics. They've had over 15,000 wars in their recorded history. Their last global conflict killed over 70 million of their own kind. Fighting among themselves proves nothing, said Council Member Traz. It's different when facing a superior force. Cal's eye stalks swiveled in disagreement. Our preliminary scouts report that humans detected our observation ships and have already begun adapting their weapons. They're quick learners. How much damage could they possibly do? Asked Wren. Our shields are impenetrable to their ballistic weapons. Unknown, admitted Cal. But their resource profile is ideal. Rare minerals, water, biological diversity. Perfect for our needs. Wren clicked decisively. The matter is simple. Earth is valuable. Humans are primitive. We take what we need, as we always have. And the warning? Asked Cal. Empty threats, Wren dismissed. Prepare the invasion fleet. We'll start with their major population centers. Standard conquest protocol. I recommend caution, Cal insisted. Perhaps a limited first engagement. Your concerns are noted, Vice Commander, Wren interrupted. But the Council has decided. Earth will be ours within 2 weeks, as every other world has been. These humans will learn to serve the Confederation, or they will perish. From his ship returning to Earth, Ambassador Reed watched the Vaughn command vessel through the viewport. His aide, Jim Parker, stood nearby, waiting anxiously. Did they listen? Parker asked. Reed shook his head. No. I saw it in their eyes, or whatever those things are. They've conquered too easily for too long. They think we're just another primitive species to subjugate. What happens now, sir? Reed turned away from the viewport. Now we prepare. Send the signal to all nations. Activation code Thermopylae. Parker swallowed hard. The Scorched Earth protocols, are you sure? I am. Reed's face was grim. They believe we're primitive because our technology isn't as advanced. But they don't understand what humans are capable of when threatened. They think this is going to be a conquest. His eyes hardened. We're going to show them it's an extinction event. Theirs. As their ship approached Earth, military installations worldwide began powering up. Underground bunkers sealed. Weapon systems designed in secret, anticipating this very day, came online. Humanity had spent its history fighting itself. But now those skills would be turned outward, against an enemy that had fatally underestimated what humans could do when pushed to the edge. The Vaughn would learn, too late, that their easy conquests had come to an end. They had ignored humanity's warning. Now they would face the consequence, a species that had perfected the art of war for millennia, with nowhere to direct that terrible skill but against those who threatened their world. The hunt was about to begin. The Vaughn invasion began at dawn across multiple continents. Their ships, sleek, silver discs larger than football stadiums, descended through Earth's atmosphere with a confidence born from dozens of successful conquests. Commander Dax watched from the command ship as the first wave approached North America. Resistance appears minimal, reported his tactical officer. Their primitive aircraft are attempting to intercept, but our shields are holding. Dax clicked in satisfaction. As expected, begin the standard protocol, target their military installations, then government centers. On his view screen, Vaughn, weapons fire rained down on human cities. Blinding blue beams carved through buildings and defense installations. The first strikes hit Washington, Beijing, Moscow, and other capitals simultaneously. Smoke billowed into the morning sky as emergency sirens wailed. "Sir," said Communications Officer Zev, "we're picking up unusual signal patterns. The humans are coordinating globally, using frequencies we didn't detect in our initial scans." Dax dismissed this with a wave. "Irrelevant. No primitive communication system can help them now." In an underground bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Kate Miller watched the attack unfold on multiple screens. The room buzzed with controlled urgency as military officers from 20 nations coordinated Earth's response. "Status report," Miller demanded, her face calm despite the crisis. Colonel Jack Wilson, head of tactical analysis, pointed to a global map showing red dots where Vaughn ships attacked. "They're following a predictable pattern, General. Taking out what they think are our command centers first. Good thing we evacuated those 3 days ago," Miller said with grim satisfaction. "Are the decoys working?" Wilson nodded. "The enemy is wasting firepower on empty buildings and dummy installations. Meanwhile, our real defense systems remain hidden." Miller turned to a scientist in a rumpled lab coat. "Dr. Taylor, what have you learned about their technology?" Dr. Alan Taylor tapped his tablet, bringing up scans of the alien ships. "Their shields block our conventional weapons, but we've identified a potential weakness. They operate on a frequency that might be vulnerable to our experimental EMP devices and their ground troops. Still analyzing, but preliminary data suggests they struggle in our gravity and atmosphere. They're stronger than us, but slower, and they rely heavily on their tech advantage." Miller nodded. "Then we take that advantage away." She pressed a button on the communications panel. "This is General Miller to all resistance cells. Implement Operation Trojan Horse. I repeat, Operation Trojan Horse is now active." 2 weeks into the invasion, Commander Dax faced the unthinkable. A status report showing significant losses. His mandibles clicked nervously as he addressed the Vaughn Council via holographic link. "The humans are not responding as expected," he admitted. "They abandoned their major cities before we attacked. Our forces now face coordinated guerrilla resistance on all continents." High Commander Wren's image flickered impatiently. "Explain your failure, Commander. These are primitives with inferior weapons. They're adapting faster than any species we've encountered," Dax said. "They've already modified their weapons to partially penetrate our shields, and they're studying our technology, learning from each captured piece of equipment." Vice Commander Cal leaned forward in the hologram. "Casualties?" Dax hesitated. "We've lost 23 ships and over 900 ground troops." Silence fell over the council. No previous conquest had cost more than 5 ships. "How is this possible?" demanded Wren. "The humans fight differently," Dax struggled to explain. "They don't follow conventional warfare doctrines. They use misdirection, traps, suicide tactics. They sacrifice themselves willingly to take down even a single Vaughn soldier." Cal's eye stalks shifted uneasily. "The ambassador warned us." "They're still primitives," Wren insisted. "Send in the second wave, double the force, break their will." As the transmission ended, Dax turned to his tactical display. A new alert flashed. Humans had breached another landing zone, capturing Vaughn technology and disappearing before reinforcements arrived. Captain Ben Foster wiped sweat from his brow as his team secured the alien craft. They worked with practiced efficiency in the Amazon rainforest heat, disabling tracking devices and preparing the captured Vaughn cruiser for transport. 20 minutes, people," Foster called out. "Then their friends come looking." Lieutenant Maria Lopez approached with a tablet. "Sir, the tech team has extracted their navigation systems intact. This is the prize we've been looking for." Foster nodded. "Get it to Dr. Taylor immediately. This might be our window into their entire fleet movement." A soldier called from the ship's entrance. "Captain, we've got 3 live ones inside. Crew, members." Foster's expression hardened. "Secure them for transport. No unnecessary roughness, but no chances either. These are our first live specimens. Intelligence will want them intact." As his team worked, Foster keyed his secure radio. "Eagle. To nest. Package secured with bonus items. Extraction required." General Miller's voice came through clearly. Good work, Eagle. Get our new toys home safely. The engineers are waiting. 1 month into what was supposed to be a 2-week conquest, the Vaughn faced a shocking reality. Humans weren't surrendering. They were learning, adapting, and fighting back with increasing effectiveness. In his private quarters, Vice Commander Cal reviewed footage of human combat tactics. He watched with growing unease as human soldiers employed captured Vaughn weapons with modifications that made them more lethal. One video showed humans in makeshift armor storming a Vaughn position, using simple electromagnetic pulses to disrupt Vaughn targeting systems. Cal began recording his observations in a personal log, something he had never felt necessary in previous conquests. The humans display unique characteristics, he dictated. They form empathetic bonds with other species. Even the animal life on their planet is sometimes used in their resistance efforts. They show remarkable creativity under pressure, converting everyday items into weapons. Most disturbing, they seem to gain morale from suffering losses, rather than becoming demoralized. He paused the footage on an image of a human banner captured from a resistance base. It displayed a simple message in multiple languages. Remember Earth, no mercy for invaders. I believe, Cal continued hesitantly, that High Commander Wren has critically misjudged this species. Their technology may be inferior, but their adaptability and determination compensate significantly. The ambassador's warning should have been heeded. 3 months into the invasion, humanity revealed its first major surprise. What began as a routine attack on a Vaughn landing zone in the Siberian wilderness turned into a devastating trap. As Vaughn troops moved in, the ground beneath them suddenly erupted in a coordinated series of explosions unlike anything in their combat experience. From his command ship, Dax watched in horror as human aircraft, now modified with elements of Vaughn technology, swarmed his forces. The crude hybrids shouldn't have been possible so quickly, yet there they were, firing weapons that partially penetrated Vaughn shields. All units retreat, Dax ordered, his voice losing its usual calm. Defensive. Formation Delta. His communications officer turned all 4 eye stalks toward him. Sir, we're receiving thousands of small transmissions from the surface directed at our ships. What transmissions? Block them. We can't, sir. They're... The officer never finished his sentence. Throughout the Vaughn fleet, navigation systems suddenly failed. Ships veered wildly, some colliding with each other. The humans had created a virus specifically designed for Vaughn computer systems, using the technology they'd captured and studied. As alarms blared across his command deck, Dax faced the grim truth. This wasn't going to be a conquest. It had become a war, one that the mighty Vaughn Confederation might not win. On Earth, General Miller watched the chaos in the sky with grim satisfaction. Send the message to all Vaughn frequencies, she ordered. Across all Vaughn communication channels, a simple message appeared in their own language. You were warned, now we hunt. The humans had learned, adapted, and now they would pursue. 6 months after the Vaughn invasion began, Earth had transformed. Cities once filled with civilian life now housed military operations and manufacturing centers. Factories that once made cars now produced weapons. Laboratories that once researched cures for diseases now studied alien biology, searching for weaknesses. Commander Dax was dead, his ship destroyed during a daring human raid 3 weeks earlier. Vice Commander Cal, now promoted to lead the invasion force, stood before a holographic map showing Vaughn positions around Earth. The map had far too much red on it, territory lost to human counterattacks. Their adaptation rate is unprecedented, Cal told his officers. They've reverse-engineered our shield technology, our weapon systems, even elements of our faster-than-light drive. How is this possible? Asked Fleet Captain Mev, his eye stalks twitching in agitation. They were primitives just months ago. They were never primitives, Cal replied quietly. Just less advanced technologically. Their minds work differently than ours. They improvise, take risks, try things no Vaughn would consider. He clicked a control, bringing up footage of a recent battle. They don't think like us, they think like predators. The footage showed human soldiers using modified Vaughn weapons, moving in patterns that confused Vaughn targeting systems. When Vaughn troops adjusted, The humans immediately changed tactics. High Commander Wren still believes we can win through superior numbers, Cal continued. I'm no longer certain. I've sent a report recommending peace talks. Captain Mev's eye stalks all locked on Cal. The Council will never agree. No Vaughn force has ever retreated. Then we may be the first, Cal said grimly. Because these humans aren't just defending anymore, they're hunting us. Admiral Laura Hayes had never expected to command humanity's first space fleet. 6 months ago, she'd been a commercial airline pilot. Now she stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, a ship cobbled together from human and Vaughn technology. Through the viewscreen, she watched as her fleet of 12 ships moved into position above Earth. Status of Vaughn forces? She asked her tactical officer. 32 ships in high orbit, Admiral, reported Commander Dan West. They're maintaining defensive positions. Hayes nodded. And our new weapons? The phase disruptors are online. They've never been tested in actual combat, but the simulations are promising. Hayes studied the display showing the much larger Vaughn fleet. The aliens still had superior numbers and technology, but they'd grown cautious after months of surprising defeats. They no longer attacked aggressively, preferring to hold position and launch occasional strikes. They don't understand what's happening, Hayes said softly. They think this is still a war for territory. West looked at her questioningly. Isn't it? Hayes shook her head. Not anymore. General Miller's orders were clear. This isn't about defending Earth now. It's about making sure no one ever attacks us again. She straightened her uniform. All ships, battle formation Delta. Target the Vaughn command vessel. Let's show them our new teeth. Colonel Mike Reese led his hunting party through the ruins of what had once been downtown Sydney. His team moved silently, each soldier equipped with adaptive camouflage reverse-engineered from captured Vaughn technology. Their weapons, hybrid creations combining human ingenuity with alien tech, were designed specifically to penetrate Vaughn armor. Movement ahead, whispered Sergeant Tim Barnes, checking a scanner that detected Vaughn life signs. Small patrol, maybe 5 of them. Reese nodded and signaled his team to spread out. They had been tracking this Vaughn group for 3 days, deliberately herding them into this ambush point. His team didn't just kill Vaughn. They studied them, learned from each encounter, and shared that knowledge with other hunting parties worldwide. Remember, Reese said quietly, we need one alive for intelligence, the rest are expendable. His soldiers moved into position with practiced efficiency. 6 months of constant combat had turned them into something new, not just soldiers, but specialized hunters with intimate knowledge of their prey. The Vaughn patrol entered the trap zone, moving cautiously but still following predictable patterns. Reese waited until they were fully committed, then gave the signal. The ambush was swift and brutal. 4 Vaughn fell immediately to precisely targeted shots that exploited gaps in their armor that only human hunters had identified. The 5th Vaughn, clearly an officer, found himself suddenly alone, surrounded by humans who seemed to appear from nowhere, as their adaptive camouflage deactivated. Secure the prisoner, Reese ordered, and leave our calling card for their recovery team. Sergeant Barnes nodded and placed a small holographic projector among the dead Vaughn. When their reinforcements arrived, they would find a message in their own language. We warned you. We hunt. You die. In her underground command center, General Miller reviewed reports from around the world. Hunting parties like Reese's were systematically eliminating Vaughn ground forces. In space, Admiral Hayes' fleet had achieved its first major victory, destroying 10 Vaughn ships while losing only 3. The tide is turning, said Dr. Taylor, now her chief of alien technology research. Their reinforcements have stopped arriving. I think they're reconsidering this invasion. Too late for reconsideration, Miller replied coldly. Dr. Lee, show me the progress on Project Payback. Dr. Anna Lee, a quiet woman who had been a quantum physicist before the invasion, brought up schematics on the main screen. The prototype faster-than-light drive is operational, General. Based on Vaughn technology but significantly modified. It's ready for installation in our new vessels. Miller studied the designs with grim satisfaction. And the weapon systems? The hunter-killer drones are in final testing. They're designed to target Vaughn biology specifically. They'll ignore other life forms. and they can self-replicate using available materials. Miller nodded. Good. The Security Council has approved the next phase. We're taking this fight to them. She turned to the assembled military and scientific leaders. For 6 months, we've been fighting for survival. Now we fight for the future. The Vaughn and anyone else watching need to learn that attacking Earth is a death sentence. Vice Commander Cal received the report with all 4 eye stalks lowered in disbelief. 10 ships lost in a single engagement against crude human vessels that shouldn't have been capable of space combat at all. His tactical officer continued grimly. Ground forces are reporting new human weapons, drones that can penetrate our armor and target vital organs with precision, and the humans have developed some kind of biological weapon specifically designed for Vaughn physiology. Casualties? Cal asked. Over 60% of our ground forces lost and— Speak freely, Cal ordered. Sir, there are no prisoners. The humans take occasional captives for study, but they don't keep them. This isn't like any war in Confederation history. Cal moved to his private terminal and pulled up his personal log. For months, he had been documenting human tactics, trying to understand this species that fought like nothing the Vaughn had ever encountered. His latest entry was brief. The humans are systematically analyzing every aspect of Vaughn biology, technology, and psychology. They don't just defeat us. They learn from each victory. Each encounter makes them more effective killers. I no longer believe this is about defending their world. They are preparing for something else. As if confirming his fears, a human transmission cut through Vaughn communication channels. Admiral Hayes's face appeared on screens throughout the Vaughn fleet. This message is for the Vaughn Confederation leadership, she said, her expression hard. 6 months ago you ignored our warning and attacked our world. You believed we were primitive and would submit easily. You were wrong. The image shifted to show human shipyards where new vessels were under construction, vessels that clearly incorporated Vaughn technology. We're coming for you now, Hayes continued. Not just to drive you from Earth, but to ensure you can never threaten us again. You chose this path when you ignored our warning. The transmission ended, leaving Cal staring at a blank screen. For the first time in the history of the Vaughn Confederation, they faced an enemy that had not only resisted conquest, but was now prepared to take the fight into Vaughn territory. The hunt had evolved. Now the humans were coming to hunt them at home. 2 years after the Vaughn invasion of Earth began, humanity had achieved what many thought impossible. Not only had they repelled the alien attackers from their home planet, but they had built a fleet capable of faster-than-light travel. Earth's factories worked around the clock, converting Vaughn technology into weapons that matched or exceeded alien capabilities. Admiral Laura Hayes stood on the bridge of the Retribution, humanity's first true warship designed for deep space combat. At 800 meters long, it combined the best of human innovation with reverse-engineered Vaughn technology. Around her, a fleet of 30 vessels prepared for humanity's first offensive beyond their solar system. All ships report ready, Admiral, said her second-in-command, Captain Roy Chen. Operation Payback is go. Hayes nodded, her face solemn. Signal all vessels. FTL jump in sequence, coordinates as planned. She watched as the stars on the view screen blurred and stretched. The human fleet, built by a species that 2 years ago could barely reach their own moon, tore through space toward their target, Nexus Station, the Vaughn's primary shipyard. High Commander Wren paced the council chamber on the Vaughn homeworld, his eye stalks twitching with agitation. The holographic display showed the human fleet's approach to Nexus Station. Impossible, he clicked, mandibles clacking in distress. They couldn't have developed FTL so quickly. Vice Commander Cal, who had been recalled from Earth 6 months earlier, stood quietly to one side. I warned you, Commander. These humans adapt faster than any species we've encountered. The station's defenses will hold, Wren insisted. They have 40 defense platforms and a standing fleet of 20 ships. The humans have developed weapons specifically designed to target our technology, Cal reminded him, and they've had 2 years to study our weaknesses. Wren rounded on Cal, all 4 eye stalks fixed on him. You sound like you admire these primitives. I respect them, Cal corrected, as we should have from the beginning. The human ambassador warned us, and we ignored him. Before Wren could respond, the emergency alert sounded. One of the junior officers rushed in, mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. "High Commander, the humans have launched their attack on Nexus Station. They've deployed some kind of new weapon, autonomous drones that bypass our security protocols." Dr. Anna Lee watched from her station aboard the Retribution as the first wave of her hunter-killer drones approached Nexus Station. The fruit of 2 years' intensive research, these devices represented humanity's new approach to warfare. "Drone swarm deployed, Admiral," she reported. "Initial scans show the station's defenses are responding exactly as predicted." Hayes nodded. "Begin Phase 2. On her command, the human fleet spread out in a formation no Vaughn tactician would recognize. Unlike the methodical, structured approach to space combat used by the Confederation, human tactics were fluid, unpredictable, and aggressive. The Vaughn defense platforms opened fire, their energy weapons slicing through space. But the human ships moved in patterns designed to confuse Vaughn targeting systems, while their shields, improved versions of captured Vaughn technology, absorbed hits that would have destroyed Earth vessels 2 years ago. "The drones have penetrated the station's outer defenses," Lee announced, watching her display as thousands of tiny dots swarmed through Nexus Station. "They're beginning to replicate using station materials." Hayes allowed herself a small smile. "And the virus?" "Uploaded to their network. Their communications are already failing." Within the massive space station, chaos erupted as Dr. Lee's creations went to work. The drones, each no larger than a human hand, sought out critical systems and began dismantling them. More disturbing to the Vaughn defenders, the machines could reproduce using the station's own resources to create more of themselves. Simultaneously, human hackers deployed viruses specifically designed for Vaughn computer systems they had studied intensively since the first captured ships 2 years earlier. Colonel Mike Reese led the boarding party onto Nexus Station. His team, now veterans of countless engagements against Vaughn forces, moved with precision through the corridors. Their armor, a hybrid of human and Vaughn technology, protected them from the increasingly desperate defensive fire. "Remember," Reese told his soldiers through the comm system, "we need their database intact. Everything else is expendable." The station's Vaughn defenders fought bravely, but were unprepared for human combat techniques. Reese's team used tactics developed specifically to counter Vaughn's strengths and exploit their weaknesses. Where Vaughn expected methodical advances, humans came from multiple directions. Where Vaughn prepared for frontal assaults, humans attacked from ventilation systems and maintenance tunnels. "Central control ahead," reported Sergeant Barnes, now Reese's most trusted officer. "Heavy resistance." Reese nodded. "Deploy the flashers." Barnes activated devices that emitted light pulses specifically calibrated to disorient Vaughn optical systems. As the alien defenders reeled, Reese's team swept in. The battle was brief and decisive. "Control room secured," Reese reported over the fleet channel, beginning data extraction. As his technical specialists downloaded the Vaughn databases, Reese placed a small holographic projector in the center of the room. When activated, it displayed a simple message in Vaughn language. "Remember Earth. This is just the beginning." On the Vaughn homeworld, panic spread through the population as news of Nexus Station's fall reached them. The station, thought impregnable, had been overwhelmed in less than a day. The Vaughn Confederation, undefeated for 3 centuries, had suffered its first major defeat. In an emergency session, the Council faced an unprecedented crisis. "The humans have captured our shipyard," a military advisor reported, his voice clicking rapidly in distress. "They're downloading our technical databases, stealing our ship designs, weapons specifications, everything." High Commander Wren's eye stalks drooped in humiliation. "How many ships lost?" 17 destroyed, 3 captured. The station itself is a total loss. The humans deployed some kind of self-replicating machines that are systematically dismantling it." "Vice Commander." Cal stepped forward. "We must negotiate. Now before they strike deeper into our territory." Negotiate? Ren's mandibles clicked in anger. With primitives? With animals? Cal's eye stalks rose in challenge. They are not primitives. They are not animals. They are something we have, never encountered before, a species that turns its entire civilization toward warfare when threatened. He activated a holographic display showing the human fleet. Look at what they've accomplished in just 2 years. From barely reaching their moon to building ships that can defeat our best defenses. One victory doesn't win a war, Ren insisted. This wasn't about winning, Cal said quietly. This was a message. They could have destroyed the station immediately. Instead, they boarded it, studied it, and left us a warning. He played the Yao, recording from Reese's holographic projector. Remember Earth. This is just the beginning. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans weren't fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting to ensure their security by any means necessary. I've studied their history, Cal continued. When humans feel threatened, they don't stop at defense. They eliminate threats completely. They're coming for us next, not to conquer, but to make certain we can never threaten them again. As if confirming his words, reports began coming in of human ships appearing near Vaughn colonies, not attacking, just watching, studying, planning. The hunt had come to Vaughn space, and humanity was just getting started. 4 years after the Vaughn invasion of Earth began, the conflict had transformed beyond anything either side could have imagined. The once mighty Vaughn Confederation, which had conquered 32 species without serious resistance, now struggled for survival against a humanity that had mastered space travel and warfare with terrifying speed. Vice Commander Cal, now the effective leader of the Vaughn forces after High Commander Ren's removal from power, stood before the viewport in the capital city on the Vaughn homeworld. The sight that greeted him would have been unthinkable 4 years ago. A human fleet? In orbit around the Vaughn homeworld itself. 40 ships, each more advanced than anything the Vaughn now possessed, held position in a formation that deliberately mirrored the one the Vaughn had used when they first arrived at Earth. The symbolism wasn't lost on Cal. A junior officer approached, mandibles clicking nervously. Sir, the human delegation requests your presence at the landing site. Their president has arrived. Cal's eye stalks swiveled in acknowledgement. Prepare the reception hall and ensure all defensive systems remain powered down. We will not provoke them. As he moved to leave, Cal glanced at the datapad that rarely left his side. For 4 years, he had meticulously studied human history, particularly how they treated defeated enemies. The records showed a bewildering mix of possibilities, from brutal retribution to unexpected mercy. Which face would humanity show the Vaughn today? President Tom Reed, the former ambassador who had delivered Earth's ignored warning 4 years earlier, stood at the front of the shuttle as it descended toward the Vaughn capital. Beside him, General Kate Miller and Admiral Laura Hayes watched, the alien landscape grow larger in the viewports. It's strange, Reed said quietly. When I first met them, I was alone in their ship, surrounded by their guards. Now they welcome us to their homeworld with their fleets destroyed and their colonies under our control. Not destroyed, Hayes corrected. Contained, as per your orders. Reed nodded. Yes, destruction is easy. What comes next is harder. Miller studied the Vaughn city through tactical glasses. They've complied with all demands so far. Defense systems are offline. No hidden weapons detected. They know they're beaten. But do they understand why? Reed wondered. That's what matters today. The shuttle landed in the central plaza of the Vaughn capital, a place where no alien had ever set foot before. As the doors opened, Reed led the human delegation onto Vaughn soil. 20 soldiers in advanced combat armor flanked them, weapons ready, but not raised. Waiting for them was Vice Commander Cal, surrounded by what remained of the Vaughn Council. The once proud leaders stood with eye stalks lowered in the Vaughn gesture of submission. President Reed, Cal greeted, his translator converting his clicks into English. The Vaughn Confederation welcomes you and recognizes your victory. Reed nodded. Commander Cal, We meet again under very different circumstances. Yes, Cal agreed. I now understand the warning you gave us 4 years ago. Too late, but I understand. Inside the Vaughn council chamber, Reed and his delegation sat across from the Vaughn leaders. The room, designed for the comfort of the insectoid species, had been hastily modified to accommodate human biology, a small but telling sign of the power shift. Reed placed a data pad on the table. These are our terms, they are non-negotiable. Cal took the device, his 4 eye stalks scanning the document rapidly. The other council members leaned forward, their mandibles clicking rapidly as they read. The terms were harsh. Complete disarmament of all Vaughn military forces. Reparations to Earth for damages caused. Human oversight of all Vaughn space travel for 50 years. Withdrawal from 12 contested systems at the edges of Vaughn territory. Regular inspections of Vaughn research facilities. These terms, one council member began, clicking rapidly in distress. Are better than you deserve, General Miller finished for him, her voice cold. We could have glassed your worlds. We could have done to you what you planned to do to us. Cal raised an eye stalk. Why didn't you? Your forces achieved total space superiority 6 months ago. You could have bombarded our worlds into submission. Reed leaned forward. Because we're not you. We don't seek conquest for its own sake. We don't enslave other species. We want security, not an empire. But the destruction you caused, another council member protested, was precise and targeted, Admiral Hayes countered. Military installations, shipyards, weapons platforms. We avoided civilian centers whenever possible. Reed nodded. We studied your previous conquests, Commander Cal. 32 species, all either enslaved or exterminated when they resisted. That's not our way. Cal's eye stalks moved in the Vaughn equivalent of a thoughtful nod. Yet your hunting parties showed no mercy to our soldiers. Your fleets destroyed our ships without accepting surrender. War and peace are different, Reed replied simply. In war, we are relentless. In victory, we can afford to be magnanimous, as long as we are secure. After hours of discussion, the treaty was signed. The Vaughn Confederation, for the first time in its history, surrendered to another species. As the signing concluded, Reed stood to address the Vaughn leaders. Today marks a new chapter between our species, he said. Not as conquerors and conquered, but as societies that will live side by side in this galaxy. You misjudged us once. Don't make that mistake again. Cal raised himself to his full height. I must ask, President Reed, why this restraint? Your forces could have destroyed our civilization. Your weapons could have reduced our worlds to ash. Why show clemency now? Reed glanced at General Miller and Admiral Hayes before answering. We're not monsters. We're teachers. The lesson had to be severe enough that no one would forget it. Not just you, but every spacefaring race watching. The galaxy now knows. Leave humans alone or face extinction. It's your choice whether this war ends with your civilization intact or as a cautionary tale. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Cal approached Reed privately. You knew, didn't you? Even 4 years ago when you first warned us. You knew what humans would become if we forced you to fight. Reed's expression was solemn. We hoped it wouldn't come to this. We would have preferred friendship. But humanity has always prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. And now? Cal asked. What will humanity do with its new power? You've leapfrogged centuries of development in just 4 years. We'll explore. We'll learn. We'll meet other species, Reed said. And we'll remember. 1 month later, Admiral Hayes stood on the observation deck of the Retribution as the last human warships prepared to leave Vaughn space. Beside her, Captain Chen watched the Vaughn homeworld growing smaller on the view screen. Do you think they've really learned their lesson? Chen asked. Hayes nodded. They have, and so has every other spacefaring civilization watching. The Vaughn conquered 32 worlds without serious resistance. We defeated them in 4 years, starting from a technological disadvantage. That sends a message. And the treaty inspectors? Will 50 years be enough? It's not about the time, Hayes replied. It's about the memory. Long after our inspectors leave, they'll remember what happened when they ignored our warning. As the human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, messages traveled across the galaxy through various alien communication networks. The story spread from world to world, system to system, how the mighty Vaughn had fallen to a species they had dismissed as primitive. How humans, when threatened, had transformed from a peaceful civilization to an unstoppable force in just 4 years. Throughout known space, military planners revised their assessments of Earth. Expansion plans near human territory were quietly canceled. First contact protocols were updated to emphasize respect and caution. Among the stars, a new saying took hold, passed from species to species. There are 3 great mistakes in the universe: challenging a black hole's gravity, trusting a dying star, and provoking the humans. On Earth, the great war factories began the slow process of conversion back to peaceful purposes. Schools and hospitals rose where military bases once stood, but humanity would never be the same. They had seen the stars, and they had faced their first great test. They would remain vigilant, ready to remind anyone who forgot the simple truth that Ambassador Reed had offered the Vaughn 4 years earlier. We seek friendship, but if threatened, humanity will defend itself without mercy.